Hola mis solas! Welcome back to my channel. So, it's been a little bit, but today we're going to be talking about graduate school. I know it's a little bit intimidating of a topic because it costs so much money, but I have a friend who's currently considering a couple different programs. She's already applied. She's, I think, waiting to hear back for a couple of them. But I feel like this is a very collective trend that everyone's going through. It's the end of the year, hence the Christmas lights. Thought I'd get a little festive. But we're all starting to think about the new year and think about what we're gonna start getting into, you know? So it's actually something that I'm currently navigating as well. There's a grad program that I'm considering applying to. But I don't know, I just feel really overwhelmed with all the possibilities. I'm in a really amazing job right now and I don't feel necessarily ready to leave, but the way that grad school applications work, I would have to apply now to go next year, next fall. So, still figuring it out, but hoping that this tarot reading kind of illuminates, that's the right word, yeah, enlightens us on the topic about graduate school. And so maybe you're somebody who's starting to considering going back to school, looking into higher education, and considering getting like a secondary degree. So this video is really for you because we're going to be weighing the options, right? So I have a special spread that I created, which is basically weighing the yin and yang of a situation, and then talking about either if there's a middle road or how we should be carrying ourselves throughout the decision-making process, but really it comes down to what feels right, right? And what's vibing with you. I have been sitting on making this video, classic procrastination. And just to be transparent, you know, I feel like a lot of it revolves around not being good enough, and the way that at least the American education system is set up, it's, and I mean like probably all education systems, is this constant evaluation, right? And so I'm trying to get into a space where I feel more creative and balance this discipline with my intuition, you know? And that's what the beauty about graduate school is. As far as I can see, my sister is currently going through a program. And it really seems like it takes what you're most passionate about and really tries to channel it, right? So we'll see what the tarot cards have to say. And this Mercury retrograde has like gotten me all types of messed up, I swear. I also know that my I think Saturn was square my sun, my natal sun. So basically it's been very hard for me to feel disciplined in any kind of way. But progress, not perfection. It's exactly what this card's about. Oh, the Knight of Shields, which basically talks about really following a clear path, right? It's about being very directed. It's a lot of like Capricorn vibes, trying to be very focused and diligent about something that we know and that we're passionate about, and to continue walking that path of growth, almost Virgo. Yeah, Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus too, a lot of earth element, obviously, because it's an earth card. And then on the flip side, interesting. Okay, awesome. On the flip side, we have the Four of Pentacles, not so awesome. But that one talks about kind of being guarded with our finances, being a little bit goda, you know, afraid of like expenses, and gripping tightly onto things so they don't slip through our fingers. But the irony is that the harder you try to grasp something, the faster it leaves you. So I feel like our paths are starting to develop here on this like option A, option B. I feel like on the right, we have the person who's going back to school, who's like really focused and who's dedicated and who wants to learn more. And then on the other path, we have the person who is a little fearful about the money that they would be spending, fearful about the resources and the time and kind of the investments. So with that, why don't we get into it? I think we always should end on a high note. So because the option of not going towards higher education looks a little negative because of the Four of Pentacles, I think we should start there. Okay. Okay. So I see you, on the one hand, thinking about, listen, I've gotten this far with the education that I have, so why am I going to go out into the world and have other people mess with my brain and tell me what's right and wrong and trying to really like indoctrinate me into a new field of thought when your instinct is to just like hide and become a master of whatever it is that you're already doing, right? Like, I feel like I've gotten pretty far along on XYZ. I don't think I need any more help, so peace, right? No shame, no judgment, but we can imagine how that can be a little limiting, right? Like, we're talking about humans that are social creatures as a Libra. This is kind of something that's like baked into my mentality of how I process the world. And there's a lot of power and there's a lot to be said in going your own way, being independent. And so this is completely an option that you can be like, I don't think I need to have some higher education. I'm just going to continue developing my skills. But I do see it coming from a place of fear, not as much a place of like, I know I got this, right? Yeah. Almost afraid that you wouldn't be good enough. So you don't want to go and get laughed at. Oh, baby. Yeah, I feel like there's this push and pull of wanting to be a master of your craft, being afraid of not having the resources that you need to become that master. And being stuck between a rock and a hard place. So this card is talking about this desire to kind of become the master of your craft, right? Like you've gotten so far along, but you feel like there's something maybe missing, like a number in the formula or a decimal point or something to just throw you over the edge to really be able to like wear that badge with pride about like, yes, this is me. I have shown up to do the work. Oh, that card has been following me and it's fine. This is fine. The Two of Wands is all about kind of feeling, oh, I know what this is telling me and it's annoying. The Two of Wands is telling you and me, it's telling us that the indecision that we're feeling is totally built up in our head. Like, we already kind of know the answer. We know that it would be an investment, and this is not my usual modality of trying to read cards. I'm always about asking questions, but I feel like the cards have been very clear about their opinion on this, and it sounds like we're trying to turn gears constantly in our head and trying to talk us out of going for that opportunity that would really make us feel empowered. It sounds like we're afraid of letting other people see our truth and our power and standing in that. And so we're coming up with excuses and trying to run away from this test, right? Because higher education specifically is a very strenuous test. It's a test on your mental faculties, it's a test on your resources, it's a test on your community, it's a test on a lot of different levels, but it's something that comes with a payout, right? Like you get to say like, look, I got this fancy degree. But more importantly, everything behind that degree, I know what I'm talking about now, very thoroughly, and I have the credentials that I need to advance in whatever field that I'm doing. I forgot that I didn't put my hair up. So we're gonna do that. Remember, the higher the hair, the closer to God. I wonder if Dolly Parton said that. Either way. On the flip side, we're going to be looking at the opportunity of going to that schooling option. And already I'm getting this vision of you feeling like, I don't want to say king or queen because it's gendered, but the royalty of campus. My cat is flipping out. This card is talking about you stepping into your stride. Like it feels like the second that you stepped into the school, it would feel as if a lioness, a lioness, standing onto their domain and being like, yeah, this is my ish, right? Like I got this, you know? Being in your element, that's what I'm saying. And it would be very much like a marketplace in the sense that you'd be exchanging ideas and learnings and skills with so many people. Ooh, okay, all right. Yes. Yes. I was about to say, I think that this opportunity lies within the country that you're already living in. I see it being a warm place, if not physically, emotionally. Like the second that you stand on campus, the second that you walk around, you feel welcomed, you feel invited, you feel as if there's fire and flame happening there, right? I see that this schooling opportunity lies somewhere where you feel a spark. I feel like it's very much a meeting of worlds or a meeting of places. So even though it's not abroad, it is a place where a lot of international things, students, connections happen. It's also very warm and inviting. And has the exact kind of work that you're trying to do. I think that's a very important aspect of this. No matter what program it is that you're looking for, try to be walking that path towards where you want to go. So, I see your will kind of wavering a little bit, but the universe trying to tell you that you already know the answer to this. In your heart of hearts, in your mind's eye, you already know the decision that you need to make, but you're kind of faulty on it. You're afraid that you're not going to be like a good enough student or good enough to make the cut, but the fact of the matter is that you've been doing the work, you know, and more than anything, this is just to deepen your understanding. And so the more that you take this as an exciting adventure and an opportunity, not only for you, for this institution that you're going to be joining, to grow and to learn and to expand, the better it's going to go for you. This is also a time for you to make the connections that you need for your career. So whether it be making your own way or going through an institution, I think it's really important and vital for you to really be considering what community and what network do I need to not be overworked, to not be exhausted. How do I work smarter and not harder? How is it that I position myself in the world to be of most value, right, to the universe? How can I give back? I think that a very real fear is this exhaustion, because you're already like, I work so much, right? I don't want to have to add something else on top of it, or sacrifice the hard-earned coin that I'm making for nothing. But I think the mentality that you need to be taking is, how can I use this as an investment, not only in my own future, but in the world, right? How is the little thing that I'm doing going to contribute to us as a society? Big level picture. Interesting, 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 interesting. Oh, 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 got it. So, in the path of you trying to go your own way, totally fine. Power to you. Don't spend money that you don't need to spend. But realize that you're still going to be learning. Like, your spirit right now is primed for not higher education, but higher education. In the sense that it's like spiritual development. Like, your spirit is expanding. And if you're already considering a formal program or something of the like, that means that your spirit and your essence is looking and is hungry for growing, right? So even if you decide to not take that path, realize that you will still need, / you will still, regardless, be learning in some kind of way. Especially if it's like the mystical or the occult, I feel like that's going to really come up. And on the underbelly of it, know that operating from a model of scarcity never, who does that help, right? Who does that really help? Okay. And on the flip side, I feel this fear of trusting others. I feel this fear of trusting community. I feel this fear of, I'm not gonna fit in. Which is like so wild, because if you're considering to invest in something, you're gonna be surrounded by people who literally paid money to do the same thing that you're doing. So you're gonna be surrounded by nerds and experts in the same stuff that you're in love with. So why wouldn't you fit in? So I would say flip that fear and generate excitement, and really realize that you're going to be surrounded by your own people in the first time in a while, right? Like, you're going to be surrounded by people who really inspire you, people who really understand you, people who see the same world, who see the world similarly to you. So lean into that and really let yourself get enveloped by it and really become a master of your craft. And then, magical card, the Hierophant. I would say, don't get too wrapped up in this idea of perfection. Don't feel like you have to... it's so funny, because I feel like there's this conversation, maybe in your spirit, in your heart, or maybe that's happening around you, of this idea of like what it means to be an A student versus what it means to be a holistic learner. Does that make sense? I feel like we've been taught, again, from the evaluation process, going through schooling, that regurgitation and repetition and acing exams is the only modality of success, or the only, measure of success, when in actuality, the fact that you're stepping into yourself and the fact that you're really developing this internal fire that's gonna go on for the rest of your life, right? Because this is the thing that you're kind of like really hoping to do professionally or long term. Realize that it's like your calling. And the less that you stress out about the little things, the more that you realize that things will only continue clicking into place. I am so tired. I need to go to bed. But before I do, this card is talking about your fear of your intelligence. You know you a bad bee. You know that you're really intellectual. And maybe not in the way that everybody else talks, but in the way that your spirit communicates, right? Like you have a gift that hasn't always been seen as valuable, but the more you realize that this gift is a calling, the easier it will be for you to fight through that noise. And I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. I feel like higher education, oh yes, in any way is quite difficult. Or continued education, that's the other word that I was looking for. But the fact of the matter is that like you are hyper attuned to what the world needs right now and to what your spirit is like itching to do. So why not go for it, right? Like why not go for something that is mystical? And not just mystical, but practical. You know, like what does the fusion of those two look like? The balance between creativity and discipline is flow. The more that we realize that boundaries are healthy and boundaries are important, and even when we're talking about schooling, finding healthy boundaries to approach continuing education and finding proper containers for learning spaces. Like this job that I'm in right now is making me realize how important it is to have a proper learning environment. Like learning doesn't just come easily. There's a lot of like learning through struggle that the world has taught us how to do, but creative and holistic learning and integrated learning happens when you feel safe. And I think that's a very crucial piece to whatever schooling option that you're looking at. Part of that fire that you should be feeling, part of that spark that the Emperor should kind of be resonating inside of you, really needs to come from a sense of like a home hearth or a fire, right? Like a fireplace. You need to feel as if you're home for the holidays. I don't know. Like I'm very much getting this like warm, fuzzy feeling thinking about school. Don't go anywhere that you don't feel welcomed. And that's like a life lesson for me in general right now. Don't go anywhere you don't feel welcomed. And also don't assume that you're not going to be welcomed, right? Like, half of the battle is showing up and seeing for yourself how you feel and acknowledging how you're received. Not saying that you have to integrate any of the way that you've ever been treated, right? Like, somebody can treat you like garbage. That doesn't mean that you're garbage. You need to separate those. So, if, for my friend who's considering these 5 different schooling options, I would really say focus on something that feels like home. I remember her telling me the first option and her being really excited about it. I think that that's probably a good indicator of where she wants and should go. But yeah, know that you're going to be surrounded by like-minded people and lean into that strength, right? Because I feel like outside of these spaces, we're surrounded by like the hardships and the kind of like learning through struggle. But if we're paying for something, if we're putting ourselves in an environment where we're investing, then we should really be choosing what the environment looks like, right? Trying not to be too capitalist about this, but and on the flip side, I'm sorry, I really, you know the way that I read, I dislike telling people to do anything, but I feel like this reading, at least, maybe it's talking more for myself and for my friend, but I'm pretty sure it's talking to everybody, is this idea that, like, if you're afraid, don't be. That's an illusion. That's kind of like coming before you, like a fog or a haze. And the sun is gonna come and it's gonna clear that fog away, and you're gonna realize when the cycle passes and you miss the opportunity to apply, oh, I should have done it. I should have done it, right? Like, I feel like the universe is really trying to tell us, like, you're gonna lose an application fee if you don't get in, if you decide not to go, if you decide to postpone. Literally the only thing you're gonna lose is X amount that it costs to apply to the program. So, this is really for myself. I need to apply to that program. I hope that was helpful. I know I'm feeling like all sorts of wacky with filming at night. Probably not going to do that again. But here we are. I'm sad Ginger never made an appearance. Do you want to come say hi? Come say hi. Come say hi. Not going to happen. But les, I'm trying to think of the gender neutral way to say los amo mucho. Les amo mucho. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope to make these videos more often, but the world and anxiety and spirit is hard to come by sometimes, you know? So if you're interested in getting one of these readings, please leave something in the comments, say hi, or DM me on Instagram, and I'll try to get back to you. Happy holidays, everybody.